from LPI Studios in Memphis, Tennessee. It's R&R on Sports with Uncle Howard Robertson.
You will only see Tony Romo this season if something happens to Dak Prescott.
Jennifer Conroy.
There are less pieces on the Raiders. There's been the move, and the whole culture has kind of had to shift into LA out of St. Louis.
And the magnificent Larry Robinson.
I think this whole concept of college football playoffs is an absolute travesty.
It's R&R on Sports.
Hello and welcome to a little R&R on Sports. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
I'm Howard Robertson.
I'm Jennifer Conroy.
And I am the fantastic, the amazing, the most splendiferous Larry Robinson in the house, everybody. What's happening?
Is this the year? Is this the year for the little low Donnie Hathaway? Not Donnie Hathaway.
You finally got back to the cool
Barry
table.
White, the low Barry White voice.
You know, yeah,
It's gonna be cool this year.
Yeah,
Bravado.
Yeah.
Bravado. Nice.
Yeah, it's bravado, all right. How y'all doing? Happy New Year. Happy 17.
Year.
Oh, yeah, man.
2-1-7.
Hey, man, we lost a lot in 2016, so I'm hoping we pick it
sure
all back
did.
up in 2017.
I hope the
What
force
did
is
we
strong
lose?
with us.
Other than people.
Yeah,
we lost a
some
lot of people.
We lost some people,
lost
but
some
I'm
people.
hoping we will replace those people with outstanding, amazing people that can replace them in the vacuum that they created.
Well, do you guys agree with? I know a lot of shows were giving, like, literally giving 2016 the finger.
Yeah, I'm on that. I gave it 2
in
fingers.
that? Are you in that?
In the
group?
air.
2 fingers.
2
2 fingers. Both hands.
Really?
Both hands and a toe. I've taught my toe.
Was it personally a bad year for you guys?
It was rough and tumble.
Was it?
Yeah, it
It was a tough year. Tough year.
Wow. Okay.
Tough year.
I'm
now
glad
we
to
got
see
new
it
ones.
go.
And then I just had to walk around with my hands up. You know,
Don't shoot.
don't shoot, hands up. You know,
Hands up, don't shoot. Oh, what kind of sports y'all watch over the holiday? Basketball. What about
There's
football?
There's a lot
you
of
didn't watch
good basketball.
any football?
Here and there. There's some broken legs and a Romo.
Y'all watch
we had
bowl?
a Romo.
Y'all watch bowl games?
yes, I've watched a lot
I
of
sat
football.
out the bowl
actually.
games this year.
Oh, no,
Ohio
you
State,
can't do that.
Yeah.
Ohio State got beat like they stole.
Oh,
so.
I'm going pro.
Runaway slave. They got not just Ohio State, but the Big Ten in general.
Now, now wait a minute. Let's rewind.
Michigan got slapped upside the head.
Michigan did it.
And the Oklahoma game was.
No. But as I said a while ago,
Uh-oh.
Louisville
Here we go.
did
They
not
were
meet
fakes.
the
They were
look.
phonies.
Yeah, he did
They
not.
were
Look
phonies.
test.
They were phonies.
Since the Heisman hasn't
phonies.
No,
met.
even before the Heisman.
Two games before the Heisman, I'll give you that.
Literally, man.
were phonies.
They just did not.
It was embarrassing.
To me,
Yeah.
it did
It was
not.
embarrassing.
And everybody in my hometown was acting a fool about the Cardinals, and I understand. But I was saying
So
to them,
close.
I'm like, no, this is not a good look.
No.
And the fact they're using Lamar Jackson as a running back, I'm like,
What?
you're not allowing him to fully utilize his
Anything.
skills.
Yeah,
Show up.
nothing.
They didn't
You know,
show up at all.
Non-explosive.
Well, hey, man, I
They
mean,
didn't show up at
LSU is in
Boring.
the SEC.
What about Washington? What about the Huskies? They got
looked a little
slapped too.
husky.
They got spanked too.
I just think, man, we got to move to an 8-game playoff. We cannot do this 4-game thing. It's not me 14
There's too many
thing.
teams that get
It's
left
not-
out.
It's not a true indication of the best teams in the country.
At
It's
this
just
point,
not.
I think they're making up bowls too. There are some of them that I never heard about.
Well, it's all
Some
new
of them give
sponsors. It's a
gift
money
cards,
grab.
though.
It's a money grab. It's a money grab with all these
Absolutely.
bowls.
So any question-
Dollar General has a bowl game now.
Yeah.
Dollar General.
So does it
has
cost $1?
about $1. You almost got it. Just give me $1. Just give me $1.
You
Or
can get in.
If you give me a gift card, I guarantee you I'll use it while I'm at your store.
So much to talk about. And we're
Yes.
going to get going. Keep going. Right after you get your laugh on. So stay with us. We'll be back on the other side of LMAO.
Hey, this is Dr. J.
Hi, this is Rika Ketchum.
This is John Hollinger, Vice President of Basketball Operations for the Memphis Grizzlies. Tim Brown, NFL Hall of Fame inductee. You are listening to R&R on Sports.
Football fans know some things just go together. Quarterbacks and receivers, face paint and super fans, game days and tailgates. State Farm agent Emerson Abel knows another winning combination, home and auto. Emerson and his team are here to help your life go right when you combine your home and auto insurance, which saves you time and money. So get your home and auto on the same team and score some savings with State Farm agent Emerson Abel, 901-837-7400.
R&R on Sports with Henry's Hall of Fame Barbershop.
Come on in here and welcome to Henry's Hall of Fame Barbershop. Now, which haircut would you like? Point to it.
I'm in chair one.
Would y'all shut up? That's the number 12. Yes, sir. That's the Barry White. Baby, go on back there and get that lie for me. Sit on down here. We gonna get your hair long and pretty. How did y'all like that game the other night? Did it suit you? Did the outcome suit you? What you think?
That Kerry got the worst hair of any good hair boy I ever seen in my life.
That boy talking about the main hair. He ain't talking about the main hair.
He's
talking about his game. What?
All he need is all Curry need is some Murrays. Curry needs some Murrays.
He need a wine silky.
Slick that stuff back in it and it'd be a beautiful
don't need
thing.
No Murray. He need the Duke.
Need the Duke.
The Duke.
They don't do the Duke
freeze
no
your
more.
hair up and make it go any way you want it to go.
And speaking
I've been
of bad,
in this business for 40 years.
I got a little cousin that could braid Riley's hair.
speaking of bad hair, did y'all see LeBron James?
LeBron
What's the
James,
matter with his head?
He ain't got no hair.
He got tatter.
That boy do need a stocking cap. I think he need him some Glover's Moon. That's what he needs.
Lover's Moon, boy.
Lover's Moon?
Lover's Moon.
Now I use his Glover's.
Glover's
Glover's
That's
Moon.
the reason your hair look like it look
Glover's
today.
Maine, sir.
Maine.
It's Glover's Maine,
Oh,
sir.
that's right.
He got stitches
No,
in his
y'all
head.
both right. I uses the moon.
LeBron is losing his hair. And it will be gone forever.
He
if he put that
is
Glover's
watching.
range
But
in
him
his
and
head.
that boy Stephen A. got the same barber.
He is washing more face these
and
days.
combing less hair.
Now, y'all do know who LeBron James' real daddy is.
the-
That
boy
Aloysius
Who
boy.
is the
That
boy,
Aloysius
Pepsi?
boy.
No, that ain't Aloysius boy. No, that ain't. I know who daddy that is.
yeah.
It's Jesse's boy.
Jesse James?
Yeah.
No,
Isn't his daddy in the witness protection program?
not anymore. The boy's
What?
daddy. Now y'all listen to me now.
Well.
The boy's
come on.
daddy, LeBron James' daddy name is Rick.
Lord have mercy, boy. You just like
Rick James.
Don't put that on, Rick.
Super freak.
Talking about
It's
coming here.
super freak.
I used to come in here with that
now.
white guy named Tanner.
That's right. That's his real daddy. A lot of people don't know that.
Rick James.
Is he biracial?
Biracial. No, Rick wasn't biracial. He liked women.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is David West of the Golden State Warriors, and you're listening to R&R on Sports.
I've been here all night. I've been here all day. And boy, you got me walking side to side.
We are back at you. That's
Back again.
You know,
Act like lazy boy.
I want to ask
Tell us.
y'all this question.
What you want to ask us,
I
Uncle?
want to ask.
Ask away.
Ask you this. Let me ask you this. Coaches, generally, coaches, whatever sport,
Okay.
particularly ones with a lot of African American athletes, football, basketball, so
So we're not talking
Do-
about lacrosse.
No, we're not talking about lacrosse right now.
Okay. All
Or
right.
hockey.
It might exist in lacrosse, but here's my question, and this is based on what I'll get to in a minute. Do you think that coaches are part of a solution or part of a problem of exploitation of African American athletes? And here's what
Now, I don't think those
why I'm
two
asking
comments
this.
are mutually exclusive.
Here's why I'm asking this.
Okay.
George Carl's comments from his book, something to the effect of Kenyon Martin and Carmelo carried two big burdens, all that money and no father to show him how to act like a man. And recently, Bobby Bowden's coming unhinged, saying a boy needs a male figure, and girls do too. Somebody to discipline them and make them a man. I used to kid about this. They grow up wanting to be like their mama. They want to be a man like their mama. That's why they wear earrings. Now he's talking about
single mother.
He's talking about his players. They're talking about a lack of fathers among African American athletes. The tone I don't like. The statement to some extent, and I'm old school, so I might agree with some of what they had to say, but the tone is white paternalistic,
absolutely,
and white supremacist and demeaning.
Well, here's where I have a challenge with those comments, and then I'll tell you how I think it's okay. Number one, when you're sitting in a room of white men, that's the wrong conversation to have because you don't have perspective.
Right.
You have no perspective.
Those are the conversations
whatsoever.
that white men have all together and then think it's cool to go out and be like, well, I coach black players and it's perfectly acceptable for me to say this and you're not going to catch it, like Phil threw out the word posse. It's shade and both of you are exactly right on.
Well, like I said, I don't think they're mutually exclusive. I think, the fact that coaches can be good. I mean, I've had some very positive coaches, but at the end of the day, what we're finding is that white supremacist mindset is very prevalent, and because of that, it colors a lot of comments that these individuals are making.
Now, people would argue. There are people listening that will argue you down. How can they be white supremacists? They coach black athletes. These kids, they get these kids out of poverty, and they make a way. They help make a way for these kids.
It's
and
like It's like Adolph Rupp.
Talk to them. Talk to those folks.
Listen, it's just like Adolph Rupp. Adolph Rupp realized that he couldn't continue to win without having black players. And that's the same thing. I want you to field a all Caucasian team or any other team and not have inner city African Americans that play ball like it's the last thing in the world and compete.
There was another legendary coach.
I don't think you can compete.
There was another legendary coach that had the same epiphany. Okay. His name was Bear Bryant.
Yeah, and I was going to mention Bear Bryant. I mean, these guys, that has, whether you can coach black players has nothing to do with your respect and your honor for African American people or equality or equity. That has nothing to do. Those issues are totally separate. But as it relates to individuals, even like a Bobby Knight, I mean, you've heard the issues between Bobby Knight and the Isaiah Thomas and his family. Mm-hmm. I mean, in fact, Bobby Knight had a fight. The legend has it that Bobby Knight had a fight with Isaiah Thomas' older brother. So you have these issues of
a physical fight.
Yeah, physical fight.
Wow.
That you just don't have the relationship and the respect for the upbringing of the individuals that you happen to be coaching.
It's like
I think there's also some hindsight being provided in terms of George Karl and Phil Jackson, and that these are legacy coaches, and a huge imprint of that white paternalistic male was definitely the dress code area where these guys walked around like kings and nobody said anything because they are legacy coaches that win. And now we have a time span that, yes, we still have George Karl, yes, we still have Phil Jackson, but we also have Popovich, we have Kerr, we have Stan Van Gundy. So has there been some Can I
share a personal story? Sure. A personal story. So I'm being recruited out of high school by major college team, and my high school coach,
Acme State.
Yeah, Acme State. You can go here too. University.
You can go here too.
So they were coming to our house, and the coach I never knew and I never understood. So my mom basically raised me. So the coaches were coming to my house and so on and so forth. So the coach took it upon himself to call my mother and tell her that, that you ought to have, some water to offer the young men when they come in. You may want to have a dish of certain things. And my mom was so offended.
Absolutely.
I mean, she was like, this mug believes that
I don't know how to treat
people. I don't know how to treat people that's visiting my home. So I think it's that mindset that these guys bring in. I think you can look at the difference between Coach K with Grayson Allen
Yep.
and some of these and what he would have done with other kids. I don't believe that he would have responded. This kid had a 1-game suspension.
And he didn't even want to suspend
He had a
him.
one-game suspension.
Right.
And I mean, this is the third time this kid has tripped somebody on the damn court.
Right.
I mean, it's like, what is wrong with this kid?
So do you think there's a way, speaking of Coach K, so do you see a difference in the way a kid that may not have a father figure in his home or come from a female household, the way they treat them in the recruiting process and coaching process versus the way Coach K, for example, would have treated somebody like Grant Hill?
Well, I think Grant Hill
with a very strong father figure.
Absolutely. I think you're going to have that kind of kid more so at a Duke than okay. So let's look at the Duke versus UK. You know, Calipari is known. You know, Calipari. What I've heard and from some very reliable sources, the Calipari says he doesn't necessarily like to recruit a kid that's from a 2-parent home.
He said that?
That's what I heard. I can't corroborate that, but it's because of the kid he recruits. And I've been in a practice where Calipari has said some very demeaning things to his players. Now, I'm not saying that other coaches don't do the same thing. It's just that I don't think a kid that's been brought up in a household with a strong dad is going to take the verbal abuse that a Calipari would bring. Because typically when you have a kid in that situation, you know, at some point it's going to be, look here, dude.
And that's where the dividing line is between man up and get through it
gotta
because our payoff is we're going here.
But you got to know that you're a man. And I think you do get that. And that's where I don't have a problem with what the Bobby Bowdens of the world has said, because I believe that is a problem in a lot of the poverty-stricken urban areas that kids are being brought up.
I think you have to look at the parallel pipeline, though, and the parallel pipeline being the 13th Amendment. So if you want to talk about, you know, players without daddies, then we need to talk about where the daddies are.
That's very true. You bring up a tremendous point.
And it's a strange
and it is territory that I don't think they need to be in. So I think they need to shut up.
I agree.
I think they need to shut up and coach. And with that, speaking of coaches, we have an interview that we did with now D-League coach Donnie Tyndall.
Donnie Tyndall, yeah.
Who is currently, and we urge everybody to check out the latest 60 Minutes Sports segment because he's an integral part of that. So,
let me make sure and I clear up one thing. I'm not saying that all the individuals that Calipari coaches are from single-parent homes. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that he seems to have a better
gravitational pull.
Gravitational pull is a great phrase to use for those kids that aren't in a dual parent home. That's all I'm saying.
Fix it up, Larry, and we'll be back with Donnie Tyndall on the other side of this.
I've been there all night. I've been there all day. And boy, got me walking side to side. It's the new style with the fresh type of flow.
Rolling down the street with my radio on, listen to Funky Politics.
The mayor of the city of Memphis, Mayor Jim Strickland. How are you, sir?
Fantastic. We keep it real, we keep it right, and we keep it funky.
4 o'clock, WDIA.
Funky Politics, part of the Katsukian Network.
Hey, this is Dr. J.
Hi, this is Rika Ketchum.
This is John Hollinger, Vice President of Basketball Operations for the Memphis Grizzlies. Tim Brown, NFL Hall of Fame inductee. You are listening to R&R on Sports.
I ain't worried about nothing. I am wearing a nada. I'm sitting pretty impatient, but I know you gotta put in them hours.
And here we are with our Eye Conversation segment today. We are thrilled to have with us college basketball coach, formerly with the University of Tennessee, Coach Mr. Donnie Tyndall. Donnie, welcome to R&R on Sports.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate you guys having me on, and I look forward to spending a little time with you here.
It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, man, you got to liven up over there, Donnie. We have a ball over at R&R, baby. You know, this is not Sports Center, any of that stuff. This is the real fun over here. Yeah.
I hear you. Well, I'm fired up and ready to go.
There you go.
There you
go.
Excellent.
Now we always start talking about the path and the journey. So tell our listeners about yours, about the journey, about the path, and how it's been and how it was.
Well, it's been a long road. You know, I've been in college basketball for 21 years and worked my way up from a junior college coach all the way to where I became an assistant at LSU, and we won an SEC championship, and then went on to Middle Tennessee as associate head coach and helped Coach Kermit Davis, turn that program around. And I was fortunate at 35 years old, one of the youngest coaches in the country at the time, to land the head coaching job at my alma mater, Morehead State, where we went on to some unprecedented success. 6 years there. We won a couple NCAA tournament games and beat Louisville in 2011.
Hey, watch yourself. Watch yourself, man. Watch yourself.
There you go. That's what I'm talking about. Say that again. Now. Say that again louder. You beat who?
Well, I had to throw that out there. We beat the Cards.
There you go.
That was a great win for us, and then from there I went to Southern Miss, where my first season we won 27 games, which was a school record, and then the next year we won 29, which broke the previous year's record. So I was fortunate to land the Tennessee job and was very excited, inherited a situation where we picked last in the conference and overachieved all year long. We ended up being 500 at 16-16, and most people around the country would tell you we really scrapped and clawed and overachieved to achieve that 500 record. And unfortunately went through a tough situation, as you guys know, with some things that happened while I was at Southern Miss, and I'm not allowed to talk in depth about those things, other than obviously it was an NCAA issue, and certainly disappointed with the way things ended. But the fans of Tennessee have been great. Even now, I'm still in Knoxville, and I bump into people. They're all so complimentary and appreciative of what we did this past year. And so now it's just time to regroup and kind of pick up the pieces, if you will, and try to get back on track.
Mm-hmm. And to be clear, those are NCAA allegations. Those are not convictions. I want everybody to know that those are things that are alleged and not things that Donnie Tyndall has been found guilty of.
Oh, now are you being his PR
right.
agent now?
I can't talk.
The man can coach. The man can coach. His record stands behind him. There are other coaches that have been found in violation of NCAA rules and have moved on to have very prominent and very successful coaching careers.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, Donnie.
Well, I certainly hope that'll be the case, Jennifer. That's for sure. And like
agreed.
You said, those things that are alleged, we're going to have a chance to defend ourselves when we get our committee on infractions hearing, and I feel we'll do just that. And like you said, a lot of coaches in both football, basketball, all different sports have been through this type of thing, and we feel like we'll get through it at some point in time.
Hey, Donnie, you have coached at every level of basketball except maybe high school. I don't see high school in your background, but you went from junior college all the way to major college ball. What's the difference between the players of when you started at a junior college level to when you ended or take a pause periodically at Tennessee? What difference did you see happening in the difference in the players at each one of those levels?
I think that's a great question, and that's over a 20-year period. So I've had a lot of different players, a lot of different teams at a lot of different levels. And I think the biggest thing nowadays, especially probably the last 10 years, is our society has become an instant gratification society. I mean, I've got two daughters, they're 13 and 16, and if they don't know a word, they Google it, and they've got the definition in 3 seconds.
Right.
If they need directions to the mall, they hit the address, and they've got that in 5 seconds. So, you got your microwave. You got a whole 5-course meal you can put in the microwave, and in 7 minutes you got your meal. Everything is just instant gratification, and that's trickled down to athletics where, you watch it across the summer. You'll have a kid that starts off with AAU Team A, and he doesn't play as much as he wants, so the second week he goes with Team B, And then he's not starting, so he by the end of the summer, he's with Team C. And same thing in high school, you know. He goes to high school number 1 and doesn't make the varsity, so he transfers to high school number 2. Then he doesn't start, so he's upset and transfers to high school number 3. And it's because kids aren't willing to sacrifice or pay their dues like it was when we were growing up. You know, when I was growing up as a freshman, you were lucky to make the varsity. As a sophomore, you were hoping to start on the JV and make the varsity for home games, and then your last 2 years be on the varsity and maybe as a senior start. And it's just changed. That's the biggest thing. You have so many people in these kids' ear telling them things that aren't true. So then when they are told the truth by a coach or a teacher, whoever it is, they don't want to hear it.
Great point.
Absolutely.
I've really noticed that change in the last 10 years without question.
Quick question. What team of yours did you give everyone a trophy that they got to play? Everybody? I've never done that, as you can probably imagine. And, you know, and that's the thing. You just watch these little league teams, and everybody gets a trophy, and everyone plays the same amount of minutes. And then by the time they get in 7th or 8th grade and they have cuts for the first time and they don't make the team, you know, they're devastated and because they've never been pushed or made to do anything out of their comfort zone.
Right.
This is R&R on Sports, and we're speaking with basketball coach Donnie Tyndall.
Now, that's a great segue into my question. My question is this: considering what you just said, what do you consider to be or perceive to be the state of college basketball as we speak now in terms of that? I mean, is it in a good place or a healthy place in your opinion?
Well, I think the biggest misconception or the biggest mistake that people make is talking about the game itself and the changes that need to be made. You know, me personally, I think the shortening of the shot clock is only going to lead to more bad shots and uglier games, and it's going to be more advantageous for the defense at the college level than it is at the pro level. At the pro level, guys are so great at usually all 5 positions offensively that they make it look easy when they go get buckets. But in the college game, you got 1 or maybe 2 guys that are capable of making it look easy, and so those rules are actually going to be beneficial for the defense, in my opinion. So from that standpoint, the people saying the game needed to be changed and the game itself was ugly, I don't agree with that at all. I think basketball at the college level, the way it was ideal. It gave teams that maybe aren't quite as talented with a 35-second shot clock a chance to play a unique style of play and create the 15-2 upsets, or when we were at Moorhead, the 13-4 upset, which isn't going to happen as often with a shorter shot clock because the more talented teams are going to get more possessions and eventually talent will take over. I think the biggest thing I would say needs to be changed about college basketball is something that can limit or at least cut down on the number of transfers across the country because you really don't have a program anymore. You literally build your team year to year, whether it's taking transfers, losing transfers, getting a 5th-year guy, a JUCO transfer, a transfer to sit out a year and be eligible the following year. You're piecemealing your team together year to year rather than having a program like it was a decade or so ago. And so that would be my opinion on those 2 areas. And again, it's just an opinion, but those are my thoughts.
Good.
So I wanted to know what you think of the one and done model that's been instituted kind of across the board at this point, where players are missing the chance to have a 4-year development before they jump into the NBA draft and possibly the league.
Or a 2-year development.
It's 4 years. At this point, having a guy in 4 years is a rarity.
It works against him, actually.
Well, absolutely. Kaminsky got a lot of flack over it in Summer League for being a 4-year player and not showing out the way people felt he should. What do you think of the model?
I think that, sometimes an NBA general manager or president may say, well, This guy's 22. He's already an old man.
Right.
Compared to, a 19-year-old that's just played 1 year. And the upside of a 19-year-old compared to a 22-year-old, they may go with the young guy. But here's the model I would like them to go with. I'd like them to do what baseball does. If a guy's good enough to go out of high school, then I think it's their right, it's their prerogative to try to go. Because college isn't for everybody. And if there are those unique, maybe 5 to 8 guys a year that are good enough to go straight out of high school and go to the NBA and capitalize, who are we to say they shouldn't be allowed to do that?
Donnie Tyndall, we want to thank you for being with us here on R&R on Sports. And, we never go away, man. We're like a rash. We keep coming back. So
Howard's like a rash. I'm not like a rash.
When and wherever you land, we're going to be back, and we're going to have you back on the show. Would you do that?
Absolutely. And this season I may obviously be out, and if there's any time you need me to come on and help in any way, I'd love to do it.
Love that.
That's killer. That's killer.
And I have to say, I loved Richardson. He's a shooting guard. I loved watching him at Summer League. He was one of the kids that I really kept an eye on. I didn't know he was yours, actually, at the time, but I wrote about him, and I hope he goes really far.
And that's coming from Jenny on the block.
Jenny on the block.
And we'll be right back.
She knows her hoops.
That's right. That's right. And we'll be right back with more R&R on Sports right after this.
You don't gotta go to work, but you gotta go to work.
This is Willie O'Ree, the first black player to play in the National Hockey League, and you are listening to R&R on Sports.
And we're back on R&R on Sports. Eye conversation with Scoop Jackson.
Hey man, can you say our name? Put some respect on our name. It's R&R, not R&R. It's R&R on Sports. Put some respect on our name, man. You hear me?
Anyway, we're back with Scoop Jackson. Listen, let's do this.
I say something about Carmelo Anthony. No, I'm just messing with you.
Yes.
Let's do this. Let's do a fan's guide. Give our listeners a just an overview of your thoughts on the CBA, the collective bargaining agreement.
Who won?
In everyday kind of terms. So just the regular guy.
We know the players took an L last time. Yeah. So who won this year?
Talk about it.
Well, here's the deal. I think from here, I'll do it the best way I can. I think from a winners and losers standpoint, I think automatically Adam Silver is a winner because he didn't allow anything to get out of hand or put the league in jeopardy of going into a work stoppage. And we both know that this is something David Stern had not done in a long time.
Yeah.
So this is the win for Adam Silver and basically setting the standards of like, look, this is a new day, this is a new league. I'm running it, I'm running it differently, and I'm going to make it work.
Mm-hmm.
Because the owners may not be happy, but Adam Silver has made it clear from the time he set foot into that position of taking over for David Stern that he's going to do what he feels is in the best interest of the league and not in the best interest of the owners. David Stern always felt that he worked for the owners, and so that different approach to commissioning is evident since he walked in. Is evident right now in his deal. So I think he's clearly a winner. Do I think the players collectively are winners in this? I think he can be split 50-50. I think from the standpoint that they agreed to the money that they're going to get, the extensions they're going to get, that some teams are going to be able to get to keep players there, I think is good.
Mention the money.
Mention
the money. Mention the money.
Well, instead of going into details about the money, here's one thing that I think but here's the one thing that I think needs to be understood, and it really wasn't part of the agreement, but it was because I put it from a language standpoint, it's not a part of the agreement because it's not connected to the deal, but it loomed big and was in part of the conversation. I think that's why the players settled so easily on this, and that's the TV deal. And that you add that to already the money that was already coming from the CBA. That's $24 billion over 9 years.
Mercy.
Wow.
$24 billion over 9 years. So here's the thing. Even though it's not directly related to it in the language of the CBA, the one thing you don't want to have is a public relations nightmare. And if you're the players in the Players Association, if they actually challenge the CBA deal, the media would have had a field day by throwing in that television contract money as part of what they didn't agree to.
Well, there is.
And you can have a league of 85% black people that has that the public feels or fans feel got a problem with $24 billion being spread over 9 years.
Right.
That would have been.
Right. You do have one player that's making some tweets as to his. He's not so enamored with the CBA.
Yeah, Draymond Green seems to be.
Draymond's not happy.
Yeah. And Carmelo also said, not to bring Carmelo back up, but he said the same thing to, what you call it?
He said he was skeptical they would reach a deal.
Right. And I think, here's the thing. I get both of their sides. And this is what I was about to say. This is the reason I split my answer on who won in this from a player standpoint, 50-50. At no point in the last maybe 20 years have the players ever felt comfortable with trusting ownership.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So for them to just automatic, and these are the same people. Most ownership outside of the Clippers has not changed hands. So these same owners are the same owners you had to deal with on the last CBA. They're the same owners you had to deal with on the previous CBA.
Yep.
These are the same owners that always scream that they don't have any money, that they blame the player salaries. All this stuff goes across the board. So to all of a sudden, in the initial stages, like this wasn't even deep conversations. In the initial stages, to just take these owners at their word and say, here, I get from a player standpoint, like, no, why should we trust them? Right, we need to go deep and find out if, what they got up their sleeves, what they're really trying to do. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But I also think that this leans to what I was saying about Adam Silver.
This is R&R on Sports, and we're speaking with the great Scoop Jackson, ESPN personality. Go ahead, Scoop.
Yeah, I think Adam Silver had a lot to do with leveraging this thing getting done so quickly because the owners didn't want it to get to a point where they didn't feel they had a leg to stand on because they don't have that person on their side that they've had in the past, David Stern, looking out for their best interest.
Well, something else, Scoop, I think Michael Jordan, they said Michael Jordan played quite a role in helping to ease the relationship between the players and ownership. I mean, have you heard some of those similar things? And if so, what kind of stories have you heard come through your lines of communication?
I've heard the same thing, and I would have to go further. I don't have any other information outside of what you just said and what I just read, and I don't think anybody's gone in depth. But it'd be interesting to me to see Michael Jordan exercise that type of power as being one of the new owners in, the NBA. You have ownership teams that have been around forever. So it'd be interesting to me to see somebody like Mark Cuban or somebody like, the Buss family in L.A. or somebody like Jerry Reinsdorf here in Chicago or somebody like James Dolan. Definitely, somebody in Washington, who, the whole organization has no respect for Michael Jordan's GM status. His ability to general manage the team. That's why they let him go.
Right.
It'll be interesting to me that Michael Jordan has influence over them when on the same field. So I think, and I would have to really see what he said and what power he holds, especially in Charlotte, when Charlotte really hasn't won anything. They're pretty successful. But, there's nothing that Michael Jordan has done in his tenureship as owner of the Charlotte Hornets that will make me believe that collectively, 29 other owners are all of a sudden going to let him influence them, and they've been doing it a lot longer than he has and been a lot more successful.
Do you think that we will see Patrick Ewing become a head coach in the NBA?
Yeah, because I think he's given his time. He's done it, and he hasn't gone about it in a way that have turned people off to him from a personality standpoint. And the reason I say that is I'm using Kareem Abdul-Jabbar as an example.
Mm-hmm.
Who sat on the bench and many teams was involved in other things trying to get a head coaching job. But his personality and who he is rubbed a lot of people, even players, the wrong way.
Mm-hmm.
And it was about his ability to communicate and get along and relate that was a big reason he was never given an opportunity to coach, I don't think, in the NBA. But Jabbar has always been that type of person. He's very educated in thought and very secure in thought.
Yeah.
Right.
But at times that could come off as not just being aloof, but as being almost being looked at as an elitist.
Right.
And he doesn't. Patrick doesn't have that.
Well,
you know
why,
what I'm saying? So I think that's what he'll be given a chance.
Why has that part of his personality and his experience and all of that not allowed him to transcend assistant status at this point?
I don't know.
Memphis interviewed him this summer.
Did they say publicly how the interview went?
Yeah, they'll say it.
They'll say it went well.
They'll
No
say
one,
it.
no one will throw anybody
like,
under the
he's not
bus.
doing media. He's not. I've chased him for a long time because I met him at Summer League, and he just does not like media related stuff. So
I think
he's
they
quiet.
put him in this perceptional box kind of thing, and I'm afraid. And this is personal opinion only. I'm afraid that he's going to be hard pressed because I don't think they see him in a head coaching light.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that.
I could see him doing some commentating like Rick Mahorn is doing.
Which has nothing whatsoever to do with his capability.
Right. Well, this is R&R on Sports, and we're speaking with,
No, it's not.
with Scoop Jackson of ESPN. Scoop, you know, we had a big thing the last few days, and we've been talking about this issue of star players not showing up on the road. What's your take on that? And I mean, the other day I had a situation where I almost bought a lot of tickets for the family to go see LeBron and the likes in a
LeBron-less Cavs.
Yeah, not only LeBron-less, but Kyrie-less and Love-less as well. I mean, you talking?
You can't.
Go ahead.
Yeah, you can't do that. You know, you can't take all three and let them sit out. You know, so that to me is a problem. I'm almost glad that they did that because now I think we can really get serious about this conversation. I think teams over the course of the last couple of years, especially San Antonio, which I understood, you know, played it to a point where it wasn't up to national conversation status. But what Cleveland just did, when you sit all three at the same time for rest in December, I think now you're bringing the to a situation where, yes, I think it's fair for us to make this national conversation.
Mm-hmm. They straight up stayed home. They straight up stayed home.
Yeah, they did stay home, and I don't know what Adam Silver's going to do about that. You know, and I don't know how you legislate that.
Yeah.
Well, Silver said let them rest at home. You know, if they're going to sit out games, let them sit out home games where they play 41 times a year.
I think they're just looking at schedule. I think they're really just looking at schedule and say, okay, you know what?
It's protecting the investment.
But okay.
But here's another thing that I think people don't take into consideration. You're talking about some of these guys are playing 4 games in 5 days and things like that, and 3 and 5 and 6 and 9. I mean, that's a lot of load to. Okay, but here's the deal.
Then you can manage their minutes differently if that's a concern. You know, and explain to me. Now here's the other thing. Explain to me or show me, because this is one thing I haven't seen, and maybe you all have seen. I have not seen it. Show me the evidence that what you're doing now has a direct effect on how your team and how your players perform in the playoffs and run the championship. I have not seen any data anywhere, and it's all been just talk. And I've heard a lot of NBA executives be like, I don't know what's even going on here, but I trust these people know what they're talking about. To me, at some point, I need to see data.
Yeah, I agree.
That proves to me that what you are doing is going to have a direct, reflection on winning a championship or not winning the championship because of that.
So wait a minute, are you saying that you've turned into an analytics guy now?
I'm not an analyst.
I thought you was about feel. I thought you was about feel, and it was the eyeball test.
I'm challenging analytics. I'm like, give me the results.
I want to know what they gave Vince Carter.
Vince Carter done found the patent of you.
Yes, baby. Yes. Well, listen.
I don't know. And so we're talking about something that they have never given an answer to. No team in the NBA has shown any correlation between sitting LeBron, or resting Kyrie, resting Kevin Love, and how that benefits. And they won because of that. in the playoffs.
Well, at the end of the day, it's about the playoffs. It's really all about the playoffs. This is just like the prelim.
Well, I got some data. I got some data.
You got some data?
The clock on the wall says that we have no more time.
Oh, really?
So, and we got to say,
but what
goodbye.
about your cataracts problem?
Hey, man, I have no problem seeing
Steve Kerr could send you some baked goods.
Help my vision immensely.
Absolutely.
Scoop, we want to thank you for being back with us on R&R. We always love having you. And look forward to the next time.
Let's make it soon.
Alrighty. Thanks for being with us. We'll be back with more R&R on Sports. How about that, Larry?
You got it right.
Right after this.
Make sure you move your booty. Shake that tinny, not the city out sitting on. Hey, shorty, I know you want to party.
R&R on Sports with Henry's Hall of Fame Barbershop.
Come on in here and welcome to Henry's Hall of Fame Barbershop. Now, what haircut would you like? Point to it.
I'm in chair one.
Would y'all shut up? That's the number 12. Yes, sir. That's the Barry White. Baby, go on back there and get that lie for me. Sit on down here. We gonna get your hair long and pretty. How did y'all like that game the other night? Did it suit you? Did the outcome suit you? What you think?
That Kerry got the worst hair of any good hair boy I ever seen in my life.
That boy talking about the main hair. He ain't talking about the main hair.
He's
talking about his game. What?
All he need is all Curry need is some Murrays. Curry needs some Murrays.
He need a wine silky.
Slick that stuff back in it and it'd be a beautiful
don't need
thing.
No Murray. He need the Duke.
Need the Duke.
The Duke.
They don't do the Duke
freeze
no
your
more.
hair up and make it go any way you want it to go.
And speaking
I've been
of bad
in this for 40 years.
I got a little cousin that could braid Riley's hair.
Speaking of bad hair, did y'all see LeBron James? What's the matter with his head?
He ain't got no hair.
He got tatter.
That boy do need a stocking cap. I think he need him some Glover's Moon. That's what he needs.
Lover's Moon, boy.
Lover's Moon?
Lover's Moon.
Now I use his Glovers.
Glover's?
Glover's
That's
Moon.
the reason your hair look like it look
Glover's
today.
Maine, sir.
Maine.
It's Glover's Maine,
Oh,
sir.
that's right.
He got stitches in his
y'all
head.
both right. I uses the moon.
LeBron is losing his hair. And it will be gone forever. If you put that Glover's range.
But him and that boy Stephen A. got the same barber.
He is washing more face these days.
And combing less hair.
Now, y'all do know who LeBron James' real daddy is.
That Aloysius boy. That Aloysius boy.
No, that ain't Aloysius boy. No, that ain't. I know who daddy that is. It's Jesse's boy.
Jesse James?
Yeah.
No.
Isn't his daddy in the witness protection program?
Not anymore. The boy's daddy. Now y'all listen to me now.
Well.
The boy's daddy, LeBron James' daddy name is Rick.
Lord have mercy, boy, you just
Rick James.
Don't put that on Rick.
Super freak.
Talking about coming here. I used to come in here with that white guy named Tanner.
That's right. That's his real daddy. A lot of people don't know that.
Is he biracial?
Biracial. No, Rick wasn't biracial. He liked women.
Football fans know some things just go together. Quarterbacks and receivers, face paint and super fans, game days and tailgates. State Farm agent Emerson Abel knows another winning combination, home and auto. Emerson and his team are here to help your life go right when you combine your home and auto insurance, which saves you time and money. So get your home and auto on the same team and score some savings with State Farm agent Emerson Abel, 901-837-7400. And we are back, and it is time to say goodbye for our first show of the new
Sayonara.
Peace.
Shalom.
I want y'all to learn some more goodbye words.
Really?
In languages different. Yeah, this year, is that a resolution?
Rosetta Stone.
Rosetta Stone is expensive.
Do what you need to do.
Google.
Yeah.
We can Google.
You know, Bon Voyage and Sayonara, I'm about sick of.
I was using sign language.
I hadn't used that. Bon Voyage.
I had to give you one. Shout outs. What y'all?
Get some flashcards.
Who y'all saying goodbye to? I have a.
What you got?
May I start, please? May I
Yes,
start, please?
absolutely.
I have a very
Please take the
special-
honor of the
I have a-
Age
I have
before
a
beauty
very
and
special
brains.
shout out to make. My shout out. We were talking earlier about coaches and fathers, and the lack of fathers in too many African American households. I want to send a shout out to African American fathers in this regard. If you are listening to the sound of our voices and you do not have either any or a close relationship with your children, would you endeavor to make that happen in 2017? That's what I want to say to you. The onus is on you to, if it's broken, the onus is on you to fix it. I don't care what happened before or whatever, but you need to get, it is something that you will regret until your dying breath if you do
Absolutely.
not. So do that.
I'm
Y'all
gonna
get close to your kids.
I'm going to balance you out and shout out the single mothers who are not in the club, who are buckled down and taking care of business and doing the best that they can. And for those single mothers that make sure that their children have a relationship with their dad and keep it all family.
This is a two-person gig,
Yeah.
and then this is not to demean in any way, shape, or form the job that African American mothers are doing.
Oh, no.
The great job that they're doing, but this is a two-person gig.
Absolutely, which is why I said mothers that make sure that baby's got the daddy's relationship and don't stand in the way.
All right.
It's very strong stuff, and I'd like to say make sure you subscribe to the podcast. Make sure you find our podcast if you missed any part of the show. And I'd like to say that there's only a couple that we've missed. Aloha being one, and the other one being
you have
Vail.
You have Googled
I've
goodbye.
Googled them. I've
You have
Googled them. I've
goodbye.
Googled them.
Okay,
Googled them.
so say bye.
Google goodbye.
R&R on Sports is recorded live at LPI Studios in the heart of Memphis, Tennessee. Web designer Daniel Coates, executive producer Larry Robinson, written by Howard Robertson, and produced by Reggie Fine. R&R on Sports, part of the Kudzukian Network.